All right, we are going to begin a new series on the Holy Spirit. And so if you'll turn to John chapter 14. While you're turning, let me read you something. You know, I get humorous emails. Let me read you an email I got. The way to achieve inner peace is to always finish what you start. It is definitely working for me. I made a New Year's resolution to always finish things I start, and I think I am well on my way to achieving inner peace. Here are the things that I finished today. 2 bags of potato chips, a package of Oreos, and a strawberry cheesecake. I think this really works because I'm feeling much better already. I'm not sure if that's the way or not. The title of the new series is My Best Friend. And I've had this going through my mind for a couple of weeks because I feel like it's what the Holy Spirit spoke to me. And when I started thinking about what to call this series, I actually remembered this old song. And let me just play a little bit of this old song for you and see if you've ever heard this one.
People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loved me till the end. People, let me tell you about my best friend.
All right, how many of you ever heard that song? Saying, okay, just so that you're not trying to figure it out through the whole sermon and not listening, that was on a television series called The Courtship of Eddie's Father. That's correct. And The Courtship of Eddie's Father has nothing to do with the message, stop thinking about it. But the point is that I was just, as I thought about the Holy Spirit, I just remembered that. People, let me tell you about my best friend. That's just the way I feel. And obviously, on this earth, my human best friend is Debbie. But the Holy Spirit has become my spiritual, my inner best friend. And when Debbie and I first got married, you have to realize I was not saved. It was 9 months before I got saved. And even after I got saved, I had a lot of emotional issues to deal with. One of the things was I was just very afraid of people. And I tried to put on this outer show, but very insecure, very inferior, low self-esteem. And I can remember we would go to like Christmas parties or something, and I would kind of find myself alone. Debbie would go off talking to people, you know, and when she got in the car, I mean, I'd chew her out. She didn't know she'd done anything wrong. But what I said was, this is how pathetic. I'd say, you left me. You know, I was all alone, and people came up to me. You know, it was just, that's the way I felt. And I'd get very afraid, and I remember the first time this happened, after being baptized in the Holy Spirit, I remember standing there alone at a party and thinking, she did it again, you know, she left me. And I remember the Holy Spirit saying to me, I'm here. I'm here. And the Holy Spirit and I started talking, which we still do to this day. I could be in a crowd of people and be having a conversation with the Holy Spirit. But I remember at that party, the Holy Spirit started literally showing me things about people that they were going through that I could pray for. And I remember one guy coming up to me and talking to me, and in a little while I said to him, hey, are you okay in this area? And I remember him start to cry, and I got to pray for him. And let me say this too. I also didn't do it in a strange way. You know, I didn't say to him, you know, the Holy Spirit's been speaking to me about you. And so we're going to talk about my best friend, all right, the Holy Spirit. John chapter 14, Jesus, you have to know something about John 14. A lot of people don't realize this. This conversation, listen, 3 chapters, John 14, 15, and 16, all happen at the Last Supper. This is not when Jesus walked around teaching people a year before his death. 3 chapters, John 14, 15, and 16, he is at the Last Supper. John 13, he washes the disciples' feet. By the way, and John 14, 15, and 16 happen after Judas leaves. Now, here's what I was going to say. By the way, he washed Judas's feet. Now, I don't know if you ever thought about that, but I just want you to think about the creator of the universe, first of all, washing the feet of people, his disciples. Secondly, washing the feet of the person who would betray him and loving him the same and serving him the same. So he washes the disciples' feet, Judas leaves, and then for 3 chapters, 14, 15, and 16, all this happened at the Last Supper. All right, now remember this. The next morning at 9 a.m., he's crucified. 9 a.m. This is probably around 9 or 10 p.m., so about 12 hours later, he's crucified. So that's why he begins chapter 14 with, don't be troubled. Don't be troubled. I'm going away, but I will come back. He begins telling them some things, okay? So in this conversation, he begins to tell them about the Holy Spirit. And so that's what we want to pick up on. John chapter 14, look at verse 16. And I will pray the Father. Now, that's a little strange because you would think it'd say, and I will pray to the Father. Let me just comment on this. This word for pray is not the normal Greek word. It's a very rare Greek word. It literally means ask. As a matter of fact, other times in the New Testament, it is translated ask. Here's the reason I'm saying that. Because when you put that in there, then the sentence makes sense. Here's what he's saying. And I will ask the Father. It's very straightforward. I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper. Notice the word helper because we'll see it 4 times. That he may abide with you forever. The Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive because it neither sees him nor knows him. But you know him. He's telling the disciples, you know him. You already know him. Now watch what he says. This is a great promise for all of us. For he dwells with you and will be in you. And that's how you're never alone. And then look at verse 25 of chapter 14. Verse 25. These things I've spoken to you while being present with you. But the helper, second time he uses this word, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things. What an incredible promise. And bring to your remembrance all things that I said to you. Now, look at chapter 15, verse 26. John 15, verse 26. But when the Helper comes, whom I shall send to you from the Father, the Spirit of truth, who proceeds from the Father, he will testify of me. Notice again, he calls him helper. 3rd time we've seen that word. Now look at John 16, verse 7. Nevertheless, I tell you the truth. We're going to come back to that statement. It is to your advantage, it's better for you that I go away. For if I do not go away, the helper, 4th time, the helper will not come to you. But if I depart, I will send him to you. Now we'll read verses 8 through 11 later in the message. Look down at verse 12. This is an amazing statement you're about to read. Verse 12, Jesus said, I still have many things to say to you. Now he's about to go to the cross. I still have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. However, watch, however, when he, the Spirit of truth has come, he will guide you into all truth. In other words, he'll tell you these things that I have to say to you. For he will not speak on his own authority, but whatever he hears, he will speak. And, now watch this little caveat, he will tell you things to come.